Hello, it's Moonkitty. People have been asking me how I make the animated stickers on my Discord, so I figured I'd do a little speed paint. Not really a tutorial, so much as just a very simple rundown. As a warning, this is a speed paint, so things might change abruptly, flash, or go a bit too fast in certain areas. Discord wants you to upload stickers at 320 by 320 pixels and in the APNG format. APNGs, or animated PNGs, are kind of like GIFs in that they're moving images online that can be viewed from inside a browser instead of having to be played in a video. Well, okay, this depends on the browser. Some browsers need extensions to even see an APNG move, which is a bit miserable. But in Discord, as a sticker, an APNG will be able to move, so that's all we're worried about. Unlike a GIF though, APNGs have semi-transparency on every frame, allowing you to create moving images that don't adhere to the sharp outlines that a GIF would have and the extremely limited color palettes that a GIF might have. Something you do have to worry about is file size. Discord won't take anything bigger than 512 kilobytes, and these 3-second long stickers that I've made are about 166. So you should probably keep any sticker animation relatively short. Discord will take your 320 by 320 image and size it down to 160 by 160 when putting it up for other people to see. While I'm pretty sure that you can upload them at other sizes, it's best to stick to uploading them at the size Discord wants, as the resampling at 160 by 160 will be perfect. Now, I have Clip Studio EX, which allows for animating and publishing an APNG directly from the program, but if you don't, there are online tools that can allow you to string together your animation as an APNG for free. I can show you how to use one of those after. Now, Clip Studio's animation is pretty confusing, and that's part of why this is definitely not a tutorial, it is just a speed paint. You create animation folders, which then function as layers, and then inside those folders that function as layers, actual Clip Studio layers are your frames. In general, it's a bit of a hack, or at least it would be, until I remember that TV Paint functioned very similarly. And that was a program for animation. But this setup makes copy-pasting anything or duplicating layers a massive pain, and I won't be talking about how to use these because I'm not sure I even fully understand them. The stickers on my Discord only have a very limited amount of movement and are largely static otherwise, so they're not super complex. The stickers in my Discord are also all Stone Clan cats, while we reserve the emojis for warrior cats and video content cats. So far, we've got Dusty waving and saying hi, Rosefoot writing something down, Skywing dismantling the server, and Bramblefawn being angry. A few months ago, I made a poll about who should be the next sticker, and Sunpool won. So I will be making a Sunpool sticker, but I will also be making one for Poppysong because she's felt a little bit missing. She's been in Stone Clan since the first video, after all. I did have an older, half-finished Sunpool sticker, but I decided to start over after looking at it and deciding that anything I drew more than a week ago is my enemy. To do the outlines, I use the default Clip Studio GPEN so that it ends up looking very smooth. I actually really don't like smooth outlines most of the time, but my usual textured outline pen isn't going to look very good at this tiny resolution. I also added some kittens, as Sunpool is one of her handful of queen characters, although these characters, Light Moon and Pebbledawn, were never actually seen as kittens. Sunpool does have a litter later, but there's 3 of them, and I didn't really want to add more than 2 in, and didn't want to choose which of them to leave out. In Stone Clan, kittens hatch from rocks that appear. The Patreon's been joking about this for a few years, but it's just real now. This makes it so that any cat can have a kitten, and we don't need to worry about the details or give cats mates. Stone Clan is funny business after all, so having kittens in Stone Clan is kind of like one following you home in real life. The video might look a little bit crispy here, but that's largely because I'm working at 320 by 320, and that's a massively small size. Well, it is nowadays. I remember when I was a kid, 500 by 500 felt big, and it especially did when uploading on dial-up. Drawing art at itty-bitty sizes was just normal for me when I was 14, 13 years old, because art programs on the potatoes I was using could barely handle a 30-pixel brush. If you ever wonder why so many kids back in like the late 2000s were using Sci instead of programs like Photoshop, the potatoes are really to blame. If you had a bad or cheap computer or even just an old computer, Sci handled way better at larger sizes than something like Photoshop, and it also made sharper lines at smaller sizes than other programs. And honestly, this is still true today. If you compare the default round in Sci to the default round in Photoshop and Clip, the Sci one is still going to be crisper. I've genuinely never seen aliasing on tiny brushes handled on any other program as sharply as Paint Tool Sci handled it, and I really don't know what the difference was. But nowadays, art programs are capable of a lot more than Sci was, and Sci 2 is lacking in a few areas where Sci actually stood out back then. If you're over the age of 25 and find yourself missing Sci's crisp lines, take your artwork from another program and just save it at half size, and you basically get the same effect, just like what Discord is going to do with this APNG. I really ended up struggling with Sunpool's face in that kitten's ear, mostly because the kitten's ear has a little tuft at the end, which was kind of intruding on Sunpool's face. I also make it so that Like Kit is frowning instead of smiling because I remembered a few jokes about him never being happy. I didn't want to ruin that now. The line art on the kittens was also just much too light next to Sunpool's base colors, so I had to wrestle with that a little bit too. Although this was just inevitable because I have never made one before with multiple characters. At this point, I start on the sketch for the animated bit, and I should say, as usual, despite everything, I'm really not an animator. I've never been to school, or really actively tried to learn animation properly, and at this point I probably should, but there just isn't time in the day to learn new things when I'm so busy making videos all the time. So my animation process is, I draw point A and point B, and then I mess with it until it looks right with me. Usually this leads to me drawing way too many frames, way more than I need, all the time to get the point across. This also becomes very hard in Clip Studio specifically because it liberally skips frames in playback. Sometimes when it's doing it, the only way to get it to show a certain frame on playback is changing the duration of the frame. Even if the frame is like 4 seconds long, it will decide to skip the frame. So something you don't see me doing in this is actually exporting the animation in a test way just to make sure it works. You might see me messing with the canvas onion skin settings a few times. This is because I tend to do frames in an every other order to try and keep them more consistent. Not something I'm really good at, consistency, to be honest with you. I hope that the one frame that I turned to the side and never redrew isn't obviously blurry in the end result, although I guess even if it is, it'll be fine because Discord is scaling it down to half size, which is another useful quirk of publishing your artwork at much smaller than you drew it. Nobody can tell if you made a line weird and diagonal. Young people just can't understand the pain of having to work on an extremely small canvas. Kids these days, shaking my cane. The way I make it so that my color layer lines up with my line art layer is by duplicating the line art layer, and by layer I mean folder, I'm talking about the animation folders. I duplicate the line art animation folder, and then I individually delete the contents, but not the layers themselves, in the animation frames, making it so that all the frames are already at the right length, and any frames that show up more than once in a looping animation don't need to be colored in multiple times. After animating Sunpool's tail, I make a very quick, tiny breathing animation as well, and then it's time for some shading. I know that shading this seems like something I shouldn't be doing, but thanks to clipping masks, I can put on some very basic, static shadows on her body and tail. It's not really shading, it's really just to make it look a little bit more varied than it already is. I do this by making a new animation folder, and then putting just one frame of animation in it, a single static image that includes all of the shading in all of the places where the shading would cover. Then I find it in the Layers sidebar and right-click it, and from there I go to Layer Settings, Clip to Layer Below. This makes it so it only appears on top of the visible portions of any given frame that it's over. I don't need to worry about it being bad or distracting or perfect this way because it's always in the same position. From here I use the Export Animation option and click Export as an Animated Sticker on Clip. If you don't have Clip Studio EX, I will show you how to use a website to compose an animated sticker a little later. And there we have it, a small, simple, Sleeping Sunpool Discord sticker. I actually uploaded this one in secret before I made the Poppysong one, but nobody noticed. And on to Poppysong. Because it's been so long since I made the originals, I had a lot of trouble deciding what Poppysong's face should look like. The eye style on previous stickers, who were made quite a while ago now, wasn't coming naturally to me. I know I wanted her to be doing something with the painted rocks, which at first was going to be a tower of them about to fall over in front of her, but I decided that didn't have enough involvement artistically from StoneClan's resident artist. I think I was planning on doing something with the eyes too, seeing as I put them on their own layer, but eventually forgot. Happens to me constantly. Especially if I was going to make a character blink for some reason. Nobody blinks in a Moonkitty video unless it's purposeful for a joke, and I'm not sorry, it saves me a lot of time working in a medium filled with cats. As Poppysong is an artist, I decided to make the sticker be her infinitely adjusting some element of her artwork back and forth for the rest of time, much like me deciding how her paw should be moving. Me redrawing that rock the whole time is regrettable for sure. I should have just drawn one rock and copy-pasted it between frames, but Clip can be so aggravating about you copy-pasting things in its animation mode that I simply chose not to. This results in a very, very wiggly rock in the end. Oh well. Because it's being scaled down by Discord, it's harder to notice the animation mistakes as well as harder to notice the fuzzy lines. I don't keep Poppy's paw and arm size super consistent between these shots either, but whatever, it's no big deal in the end. I do regret making her readjust her arm so bouncily, but it's one of those things that, much like this sticker, I'd fiddle with forever if I wasn't recording myself doing it. Speed paints help a lot in that regard, in that they get me to stop. You may notice, despite the fact that it's sped up a bit more, that I color Poppysong's arm much more quickly than I colored Sunpool's tail, and this is by setting the paint can to refer to other layers and making it so it scales up a bit in size, and then turning off any layer that would conflict with it. There's still little bits that I need to fill in myself, but this way I can color a bit faster than if I was selecting it from one layer and dyeing it with the layer under it, like I did for Sunpool's tail. And there we go, Poppysong moving a rock back and forth. It looks really slow after watching it zip back and forth in the Speedpaint footage, but let's say you don't have Clip Studio, or another program that allows you to export APNGs or make animations. Well, luckily there's actually quite a few free tools for this one. First of all, if your art program doesn't have any animation tools, you can use the opacity settings on layers to make your own onion skin effect. Save every individual frame that you're going to want as its own PNG at 320 by 320, and to make it easier, save them in the order that you want them to be. Then go to, for example, the APNG maker on easygif.com and upload your frames. Set it to the speed you want, and don't be afraid to mess around with it until it looks how you want it. You can set the individual delays on frames that you want to linger on as well. And don't forget to check off Don't Stack Frames, or else you'll create a monster in any transparency you've got. From here, it can simply be saved and uploaded directly to your Discord server. Obviously, it's not as convenient as just being able to export it from a program, but you're not barred from making an APNG just because you don't have the proper program for it. But there you go, that's how I make the stickers on my Discord.